So in dirt racing, there's this term you hear drivers use a lot of times in a post-race interview. And the saying, it's literally, I drove my off. And I'll tell you, even myself personally, I've been guilty of saying it, not necessarily the most family-friendly term, but I will tell you this, it is completely real. As a race car driver, if you want to be the best, if you want to be the top of your class, or you want to be a champion, you are going to have to do that night in and night out. And that's a little different for everyone. Some drivers can do it very smoothly and run really hard and run this rapid pace. And some guys, when they do that, they're bouncing off the wall, bouncing off the cushion, biking up on two wheels, and they're basically at any second could wear out their race car. So it kind of just comes down to whatever it takes to get the job done. But looking back at 2024, as we now turn this final page on the year, I want to look back at some of the moments where I felt like I was able to drive my butt off, and also focusing in here on the nights that went right and we were able to put all of the pieces of the puzzle together. Because let's be real, there's a lot of times, I mean, you show up, you give it 110%, you feel like you did almost all you could for the night and you still ran 4th, or you still ran 7th, or you still ran, 16th. It just happens in dirt racing. This would be an example of one of those races that was a total marathon. It was 41 laps. I started on the front row, but it wasn't like I just jumped up to the lead and then checked out. Literally the entire race, I was running second for like over 30 laps. We had, a few cautions. We were in lap traffic, many times. The racetrack was difficult to pass because it was really fast around the high side and you could barely clear a slide job, even in lap traffic. So it was totally one of those situations where I was just waiting and being patient. Like I wasn't fast enough to drive by the leader in open racetrack, but in lap traffic, that was where something was gonna have to give because it just got so dicey. It was tough to pass the lap cars, and I was just trying to put myself in the right spot at the right time. And sure enough, my break came right after lap 30. We had gotten to heavy lap traffic. Cars were moving everywhere, and there was just a little bit of an opening into turns 3 and 4. And like I said, I was 110% all race, just trying to be there for my chance, my time to shine. And entering turn 3 and 4, the leader got caught kind of a car length off the bottom, and we were sliding through the cushion trying to slide a lap car, and I was able just to squeeze my car in between them and the inside, and then squeeze right in between them and a lap car, and that was enough to take the lead.
Tyler Thompson got heavy lap traffic and a slow car on the bottom side of the racetrack. Here comes Tanner Holmes, looks to the inside, slide job over Tyler Thompson.
Big move by Tanner Holmes to take the lead, looking for his second win in 3 nights. Tyler Thompson tries to fight back.
And I know how easily the roles could have been reversed if I was leading that race. It was just a situation where it was a little bit better to be in second, but still, throughout that marathon, throughout that 41 laps, I had to be there the entire time. And so that was, in my opinion, a good situation where I drove my butt off. And then once I got to the lead, and we had a caution, I think, too, but once I had clear track, I was wide open, WFO, because I wanted to get the heck out of town. And luckily, that secured us the Marvin Smith Memorial Trophy, which is in the garage here. So our next moment takes place right out here, actually at the Southern Oregon Speedway, which is only 25 minutes from my house. See, that night, I won't lie, I kind of had almost like a special feeling, almost butterflies, because anytime I race close to home, I just feel that. I love racing at the Southern Oregon Speedway. It's really, truly where I fell in love with this sport. So that night, I won't lie, I probably was a little extra locked in. It's just when it's your home field and there's not really any other locals there, this is your home field. All the guys on the West Coast are here at your track. This is your time to take advantage of, knowing a track a little more than everyone else. That's how I felt. I feel like walking around with just a little extra pride. So anyway, that night we had a good field of NARC 410 sprint cars. It was on June 12th of 2024, and everything went well. We qualified good. We got through our heat race, and realistically, the money move of our entire night that, allowed us to win that 13 lap shortened day main event. I know there's a little asterisk there, but we started row 2 of the dash, and we were able to go from row 2 to move into second on the first lap of the dash, which then allowed us to start on the front row of the feature. See, that night, the racetrack was very, very tough to pass. It had a ton of grip. And that situation right there could have been very easy. Everyone just single file out. You don't make any passes in the dash, but being able to get that one key spot, then starting on the front row of the feature, getting the jump of the feature. The inside, it was a little greasy down there because the track was wet all night, so I was able to get a good launch and then lead the first 13 laps before, unfortunately, it was cut short because of the fire issue in turns 3 and 4 with Angelique Bell. A super scary incident. Now as we're able to look back several months later, glad that everyone was okay and able to make a recovery. But yeah, we put ourselves in position all night, driving very hard to get to start on the front row, set a good pace for all those laps, get through the little lap traffic that we had. And I really believe that if we had to run those additional 17 laps, we were going to be the car to beat. So as we go through this, of course, these being some of my highest moments of the season, there were also moments that were much lower. And that's that up and down effect, a part of motorsports and a part of life in general. But specifically in motorsports, to be one of the top guys, you got to be able to keep a level head, throughout all your shows. And typically the drivers that do that the best become a champion. And speaking of that, Champion Racing Oil is actually the sponsor of today's show. See, with the help of this oil that I'm holding here in my hand, that allows us to maximize horsepower and longevity with our racing engines that are making hundreds and hundreds of horsepower. And running the proper motor oil is key to having a good engine package. And in sprint car racing, we are all separated by like that much, at least at the highest level. So it's very key that we pick the right tools to put in our toolbox, in which allow our race cars, which are sitting here, to go fast and be up front. So that's why we choose Champion Racing Oil. We believe it gives our team an advantage. And I put a link at the top of the description for you guys to check out their brand, as they have been involved in motorsports for a very long time. So this is one of my favorites to talk about, winning $10,000 in Reno, Nevada, which is actually a race we're literally about to head to in a couple days. $10,000 to win, High Desert Hustle, the richest outlaw kart race of all time. We had 115 karts in my division, the open class, the top adult division. And with that many cars, of course, it's gonna be pure chaos. But nonetheless, we started 6th in the finale, so we put ourselves in a great spot, got a good jump, and worked our way into the top 3 very quickly. In the race up front, which I was up against my teammate, was really wild. We were slicing and dicing, all about the same speed. And then quickly, right before the halfway break, actually the car that was leading and my teammate got together, and I was able to avoid the crash, take the lead the second half of the race, almost lost it on the last lap. Had a slide job come into me in 3 and 4. We got together. I was able to turn underneath, and it was like the craziest photo finish of my entire life. Unbelievable feeling, one of the coolest accomplishments this day, even though I don't care what anyone says, it being an outlaw kart race. Anytime you get to race for that much money, it feels so good. So High Desert Hustle was definitely a moment where we had to go 110%. So our podium run with the High Limit Sprint Car Series at Douglas County Dirt Track was one of those nights where we didn't win the race, but it felt like we won the race. And probably like Southern Oregon Speedway, another home night race for me. So I show up there and I'm like, man, we gotta run well here. There's so many fans that are here for us, so many of my partners, so many of my friends and family. And we really were able to put it all together. We qualified good enough to be in position. Then in the heat race, Brad Sweet jumped the start, which moved me from 3rd to the front row. We won the heat race, which was key. We got into the dash. We started in the first 3 rows of the A main event. I think we started 5th. And just the whole entire race was a grind, just running up front, maybe gaining a spot, maybe losing a spot, then moving forward. And then when it counted, passing a few cars to get into 3rd, and realistically felt like I could almost reach out and touch the top 2. We never were necessarily right there, but in a way we were right there the entire time, that if things got interesting, we maybe could have made something happen. And it's truly nights like that, especially at that level with the High Limit Sprint Car Series, that keep you motivated and inspired, wanting to do more, because in that situation, we were close to achieving our ultimate goal, winning a national 410 sprint car race. And it was proof that we are capable of doing it. It's just about putting all those pieces of the puzzle together and putting yourself in position. Now, throughout the video, you've probably got a vibe that, man, every time you run really hard, things are gonna go extremely well. Yeah, that's not always the case. I think of looking back at a moment where I was 110% all weekend, and honestly, I don't even know if I could have pinpointed really where I made a mistake. Very rare West Coast Nationals in March. Definitely one of the most prestigious and historic outlaw kart races in the entire country. It's like a 3 or 4 night deal, and we literally, like, we check marked every box. We qualified good, we went forward in our heat races, we won a heat race, we went 8th to 2nd in our qualifier. We had the high point spot by a good margin, rolled off from the pole of the West Coast Nationals, which is 50 laps. And I'm not kidding you when I say we were in lap traffic and I like never really had any pressure, just like my car was really good. The track had a cushion. We were super fast. Like I said, it was crazy. Like we just had amazing speed and everything went our way up until coming to the white flag. Down the backstretch to the white flag, my engine expired. And gosh, that was a heartbreaker. That really was a heartbreaker, especially when we dominated. And like, I think sometimes people use the word dominate. It's like, well, like, no, this was literally dominating weekend. We were the car, lap times, speed, the distance between us and the rest of the field. And just like that, the engine went south. But that's one of those situations, like you just got to do all you can as a driver. And sometimes there's things that are out of your control that are going to affect that outcome or keep you away from your goal and in victory lane. And now the final driving my butt off moment of the year to kind of share with you. This one also did not go to plan. The Dirt Cup, $62,000 to win. We were scheduled to roll off from 4th, and all weekend we were ripping. Had good qualifying, good heat races, good prelim nights, and we were in the top 4 in points, so we didn't even have to do anything on the final night. We were gonna start 1 through 4 in the $62,000 to win feature. So like I said, we had really put ourselves in position well all weekend to come home with some sort of a payday because, you know, realistically, those first 3, 4, or 5 spots paid pretty good. And you're like, Tanner, why are you holding that in your hand? Well, this is where we got the green flag, drop of the green flag, and it was like, all right, it's showtime. Like, let's go chase a big check. And 1 lap in, we had a red flag on the first lap. And unfortunately, while we were sitting there, my left rear tire went flat. And not like flat, like it had a hole. Unfortunately, in the chaos of our night, because we had something occur in our pit area right before the A-main event where we were swapping fuel tanks, we probably just got slightly distracted as we were trying to get ready for the feature. We had all this go down. We had a bleeder that did not get installed correctly in the axle and the wheel in the left rear, and that's allowed basically all the air out of the tire under that first red. And we went from running up front for a chance at a lot of money, you know, whether we won or just ran well, to going straight to the back on lap 1. So another prime situation, you definitely win and lose as a team together. And we were going 110% all weekend long. This time though, it just didn't work out. Well, I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys here today. Definitely always a good time to look back through some of our great moments in 2024. Definitely gets me fired up, and now like I want to jump into 2025, especially with my new opportunity with Tarleton Motorsports and splitting time with my 18T. I believe it's going to be a great year. We're working hard, we're preparing, ready to tackle things head on. So we'll see you guys here soon again with more content on the channel. Deuces.